All right, so I helped a lot of my students drastically improve their portrait paintings by using periodization. This helped them do a lot of different things, but I feel like the three things it helped them with the most, that they were the most surprised about, was one, it helped them simplify a face. Like they could look at a face and simplify it into something they could actually draw and paint. The second thing was it made painting facial features a lot easier because it showed them how everyone's facial features are pretty much the same. And the last thing it showed them was that they could get better a lot faster than they initially thought. So you're probably asking yourself, like, what is periodization? Periodization, it was first kind of put into practice by Olympians in the 70s. And what they do is they would take their training and they'd break it down into sections, like kind of focusing just on one aspect of what they were doing at a time. You see this a lot in sports. That's why professional athletes don't practice just by playing their sport. Like they'll do drills to focus on certain aspects of their sport. And the same thing goes for painting a portrait. There's a lot of different aspects to painting a portrait. And what I see happen a lot of times is students will try and get better at painting portraits by solely just painting a bunch of portraits. And what happens a lot of the time is that they plateau or they stop making progress and they get frustrated because they don't know what they're doing wrong, and they start painting less, which causes their improvement to slow even more. And pretty soon they're just not even trying to paint portraits at all. I know because that's exactly what happened to me in the past. See, I did not learn through periodization. I really wish that I had, but I didn't. I have been drawing and painting portraits my entire life, and I thought, you know, at a certain point that I could just get better and get to where I wanted by just painting portraits. I never had any formal training. I had nobody telling me to do certain exercises. And I did get to where I wanted with my portraits. It just took a whole lot longer than it should have. And I don't recommend doing it the way that I did. And I actually didn't figure out about periodization in this way of practicing until I started teaching, which brings me to the story of my student, Mike. I started working with Mike one-on-one online in 2020, and he had very little to no experience painting. He was in his 50s. He was a bioengineer running his own company, family, you know, so full obligations, didn't have endless time to practice painting. And when I first started working with him, this is where he was at with his portrait paintings. This is a painting he did of Al Pacino, which he ended up calling Alien Pacino. And I worked with him for a year and he made a ton of progress. And it was interesting for me as a teacher because I got to see what worked and what didn't work. And what worked was breaking the complex skill of portrait painting down into sub-skills and just focusing on one sub-skill at a time. So for example, with drawing and values, I'd have him do an exercise where the face was broken down into simple value shapes. This helped him see a face in a very simple way that seemed doable and realistic to draw and then paint, because it's just a bunch of simple flat value shapes. I had him paint this plane head model to better understand planes so we could see more form than what was being presented in a photo. For colors, I'd have him do a lot of like small head studies to get the overall shape and form and the colors that were being used to create that shape and form. And for the features, we went through the features one by one and broke them down in what their structure is. Everyone's features follow the same base structure. They might vary, but the same structure is there. A nose is going to have 4 planes, the 2 side planes, and then the middle plane, and then the plane underneath. Same thing goes for the eyes and the mouth. So just focusing on those and understanding that form made painting features a lot less intimidating. So doing these exercises and breaking everything down like this made him get better faster than what he thought, and honestly what I thought was possible. Because at the end of 1 year, this is how he was painting portraits, which is a drastic difference and a big improvement from where he started. I mean, I personally have never made that much of an improvement in my painting in just 1 year. So I was kind of jealous a little bit because it made sense breaking things down, just focusing on one thing at a time. Like imagine if I was like trying to teach you how to play basketball and I was going to teach you how to shoot, dribble, pass, and defend and everything just by saying, all right, just go out there and just play the game and learn all that stuff all at the same time while playing a game. No, that'd be a lot harder. I'd take things one at a time. Be like, all right, we're going to learn how to dribble today. Then tomorrow we're going to learn how to shoot. Then the next day we're going to learn how to pass. And you would retain the information a lot better and understand it a lot better. So once I saw Mike's improvement, I knew I had to like bring this way of working to the rest of my students. And so I created my Portrait Painting 101 course. I broke it up into 6 days or 6 sections. You can go through the course at whatever pace you like. There's no time limit. But on each section, you focus on a different aspect of portrait painting. And it's all the ones that I've mentioned before. You know, you'll focus on drawing, and then values, and then planes, then colors, and then features. And at the end, you paint a final portrait, which will probably be the best portrait you've ever painted. That's the goal. So I created this course and I was like, I hope this works. I mean, all these things worked for Mike, but that was over a span of a year. I wonder if this is gonna work with my students over the span of like a week or 6 days. So I was like, I better run a test group through this. And I ran a test group of students through the course. It was about 100 students. And I was absolutely blown away by their progress. Like I was not expecting this big a leap in their work in that amount of time. I was hoping to see some progress, but like a lot of the main progress was going to come through practice and practice. But after that 1 week, I was like, wow. And that was over 2 years ago. And since then, I've had hundreds and hundreds of students go through this course with great results. I've had them say that it's the best course they've ever bought online. Others have said that they're shocked at the amount of progress that they've made. I've had students say that their friends and family are like asking them for portraits now or like getting commissions, which I always tell my students that. I say, you're gonna get commissions a lot sooner than you think. And none of them ever believe me until they start getting better. They're like, oh my gosh, like my aunt or my so-and-so, like they want me to paint a portrait of this. Like that happened to my student Mike. As soon as he got to a certain point, the portraits he kept sending me were like of family members and stuff. And he's like, yeah, like asked me to paint this person. Oh, this person asked me to paint this for them. So I always like to say with this course that if you just get one commission out of it, it's going to pay for itself. All right, now speaking of commissions, I'm actually going to be hosting a webinar on commissions for anyone who purchases the portrait course before May 20th. 2024 will receive an email to register for a webinar I'm holding in July. In this webinar, I'm going to talk about my experience getting portrait commissions. I'm going to give my best advice on getting clients, using social media, choosing the right photos, communicating with clients, shipping, just kind of everything that goes along with doing painting commissions. I'm really excited for this webinar because I've never really talked about this subject that much on my YouTube channel. And I'm really interested to see what questions my students have on this subject. And again, the only way to get access to that is to enroll in the portrait course before May the 20th. But a really cool thing about the course that I purposely did was I made it so you could go through it 3 times. There's 3 different models in the course that you can choose from. You can go through the entire course each time with each model. Because I didn't want to create just like a one and done course. Like I want something that you're going to return to again and again, because that's where you're going to make like gigantic strides, is the repetition and coming back to it again and again and again. I always say that learning to paint is like hearing the same things over and over and over and over until like they finally get into your mind. And when they do, it clicks. And that's when you make those jumps up. I also included an extra bonus exercise. It's a John Singer Sargent master copy, but done with just flat shapes. And then you start painting it out very simple with big, simple shapes. And then you put shapes on top of that, and then even more shapes on top of that. It's a really helpful exercise just to get you to think differently when it comes to painting portraits. And I've also included one of my most popular portrait tutorials from my Patreon page. Now, normally this course is $247, but to celebrate it being out for 2 years and to celebrate my birthday, which is on May 10th, I'm actually knocking $100 off. So it's only $147, but the sale ends May the 20th. So get it soon. And there's a link in the description of this video that will take you to where you can get the course. If you're on a phone, you might have to hit the little more button to show the description. I get a lot of people saying they don't see the description. So if you just click more on your phone there, it should bring down the description. This is the biggest sale that I have on this course, and I only do it once a year, so you definitely don't want to miss it. All right, I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.